very much, Mr. President. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your leadership. This has been a very good and very productive visit. It's good to know that the United Kingdom has a true friend in the Oval Office. And it was so good to see the bust of Winston Churchill back in its rightful place just a moment ago.
Yes, Keir Starmer, British Prime Minister, thanking President Trump for restoring the bronze bust of Winston Churchill to its rightful place in the Oval Office. You know, Joe Biden only had images of people in the Oval Office that had been shot in the head and killed. That was kind of weird, wasn't it? He had a bronze bust of the head of Robert F. Kennedy, Sr., and Martin Luther King, and then the portrait on the wall of Abraham Lincoln. There was a theme in the artwork in the Biden Oval Office. Now, thankfully, Winston Churchill, the great Winston Churchill, one of the saviors of civilization in the 20th century. That's why Democrats don't like him. Did you see the Labour Party in Great Britain? They recently, they just took power again, and they removed all of the paintings and drawings and likenesses of Winston Churchill because they're the left and they don't like civilization. Because, the left, they destroy everything, kill everyone, and they steal everything that's left. I know because I've studied the 20th century with great interest. Great stuff. But the Labour Party, they're lefties, and they don't like their own heroic leaders because they prefer commies. You know how they are. Those people. But that was the meeting at the White House and the big meeting in the Oval Office. And President Trump had invited the press into the Oval Office, and they went in for, 45 minutes or an hour talking to the press till they're exhausted. And then they had to break up that press conference in the Oval Office because it was time for the press conference. So they left the Oval Office and went and held the joint press conference, which is custom and tradition. President Trump has answered thousands and thousands of questions at this point from the phony, corrupt news media. And somebody's keeping tabs. The New York Post the other day was keeping tabs on how many questions President Trump has taken from the press. And a week ago, I think he's taken 1,000 questions since this story came out about a week ago in the New York Post. Well over 1,000 questions from the press to the president in the slightly more than 1 month that he has been back in the Oval Office. And they measured that against Joe Biden in his first month in office as president, the one-termer, thankfully, that he was. I'm signing the cross. And he had taken, they said 140-something questions. But the thing is, most of those were about ice cream and whether Hunter gets the best crack in town, things like that. Can you know someplace where I can get better crack than the crack that Hunter gets? Because I'm still looking for better crack. The Democrats run a very different kind of show. President Trump, yesterday with the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Keir Starmer, not a very good name, but that's his name. He's English. We'll try to cut him a little slack. And, of course, earlier this week, the Frenchy French had the Frenchy French president because he's a funny little Frenchman, and he was invited in. And they had, did they have a sword fight in the back like that Monty Python thing with the Black Knight and come back, I'll bite your legs off? Did they have that thing? But they had, the French got the French president, then the British prime minister. And today, you know who he gets today? None other than Volodymyr Zelensky of the Ukraine. Ukraine, he come. And President Trump has got some plans for him. And there was some fun yesterday when he was asked, President Trump was asked, said, well, you said that you're meeting with him tomorrow, Mr. President, the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, who does not own a collared shirt, and he is coming to the White House. You called him dictator for no election because canceled elections, what, with the war and everything. And I said, you call him dictator. And President Trump made a little joke. He said, oh, did I call him that? You know, did I do that? It was another funny moment. The press has no sense of humor. They think that everything that Joe Biden did, dragging his beach chair across the sandy ruins of what used to be the state of Delaware, And, oh, isn't it wonderful? He can't remember anything. Oh, look, he's got cue cards with reporters' names and pictures on them and things. Isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable? Oh, he's calling on me with my prearranged, preordained question that I provided to the White House press office before this whole thing started. And they gave him the answer that he should give, and he read it, and he looked at the little thumbnail picture of my face, and now he likes me. But I was talking about this a couple of days ago, that when Volodymyr Zelensky comes to the White House, President Trump should offer him a gift pack of Trump ties, neckties, the red ones and the blue ones. Are there any others? I think there are red ones, and then there are also blue ones, and he should offer him an assortment, an array of red ties and blue ties from the Trump store. He's got his own Trump store, make their own clothes and everything like that. So he's got businesses, unlike the Biden family, which has no known business, yet they rake in millions and millions from overseas hellholes like China and Ukraine and Russia. And where else? Ubustan. You got one of the Ubustans in there. Amazing stuff. But I printed out today. Actually, Michael printed it out. I emailed it this morning. A Trump store red tie, a red tie, solid silk tie, red. It's $125, $125 for the red tie, but it's silk. It might be made by Chinese slave labor with their tiny little hands, working their little fingers to nubs, little waifs that they are. Maybe in Wuhan, maybe someplace else. But good stuff. But I think really President Trump should give him a tie. Then you need a shirt with a collar because it doesn't work with it. Now, and we were talking about this a couple of days because Wednesday in our mailbag, one of our brilliant listeners offered a funny question. Who would win the best dressed competition, Senator John Fetterman or Volodymyr Zelensky, right? And we gave it to Fetterman. I gave it to Fetterman because he occasionally has one of those T-shirts with a fake tuxedo front on it, right? And that is at least something. But we should add another one to the list, and that is Elon Musk, because he's the richest man in the world, and as far as I know, he doesn't own a tie. He wears T-shirts with slogans on them that he thinks are funny, and he wears a black jacket. Are those like members-only jackets that he wears? They look kind of like... we used to call those Arabs only, the Arabs only jackets, the members only, because that's when you're out in Washington, if you're going out at night. I don't want to say clubbing because that sounds so trite, but if you went out, you notice, hey, members only jacket, shukran, that's Arabic for thank you, but never mind that. Yeah, so maybe President Trump will present him with some Trump ties when he arrives at the White House. That could be fun. In the meantime, he's got a deal. Boy, has he got a deal. He's got an offer that he can't refuse. And Volodymyr Zelensky is coming in, and I think they're going to sign a deal for these rare earth minerals, which are in the ground in Ukraine in great abundance. That means there's a lot of it for Democrats listening along. And the agreement is going to, because we've given them so many tens, hundreds of billions of dollars to help them fight the commies, Putin, a KGB commie, and President Trump is finally doing something about putting an end to this war where hundreds of thousands have been killed and untold mayhem has become the norm. President Trump, unlike Joe Biden, unlike, what was that dim-witted Secretary of State fake that lives, he lives right across from the Saudi ambassador's residence over in Virginia along the Potomac River. But that dim-witted Secretary of State under Joe Biden who did nothing, Antony Blinken. He's not even Anthony, he's Antony, right? Like he's Mark Antony and Cleopatra or something. Antony Blinken. And Blinken's not even an Italian name. You don't get to use Antony, right? But Blinken, he did nothing as Secretary of State. What did he do? He flew around on our U.S. Air Force planes out of Andrews, and he went to Europe and had dinner and then came home, and that's about it. Probably brought his wife or his girlfriend or his goat or something like that. Pretty amazing stuff. But in any case, Volodymyr Zelensky due at the White House today. President Trump will meet with him. Zelensky will sign a rare earth minerals agreement with the United States, which President Trump is framing as something of a repayment. We need some of these rare earth minerals, lithium and nickel and good things that we do not have in the United States in abundance, even though we're about 5 times the size geographically of Ukraine. but they've got a lot of it there. We've got about 2% of these minerals, and they've got about 5% of these minerals on the planet Earth. And so deal for us, deal for them. You don't get overrun by the commies, and we get some stuff that we need for batteries and computers and weapons systems that'll help keep the wolf outside the door, which, by the way, we've been doing since 1945 for Europe at the end of World War II. Really, when we started fighting the Nargis in 1942 in North Africa, we've been holding the wolf at bay for the Europeans. They don't seem very grateful most of the time, I've got to say. They seem to whine and just demand more like schoolgirls. And no offense to schoolgirls who behave better than that so much of the time. But big stuff going on at the White House this week. Again, the French, you got your Frenchy French, you got your British fella with his teeth and everything. And then the Ukrainian, Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. Kind of a big deal. What did Joe Biden ever do in 1 week? Huh? He watched 5 episodes of Hazel. He had lots of porridge dribbling down his chin because he's not very good at any of this stuff.
Mr. President, what did you order?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what kind of ice cream are you having, Mr. Chocolate chip? Okay. Somebody hit him with a tranquilizer dart. We got to drag him out of here, get him back in the iron lung in the attic because he's really not the president of the United States. So we've got fun stuff going on in Washington. President Trump making it more fun than ever. And what else? Some government employees and the news media, they are all about government employees, saving the jobs of government employees. And look, I know lots of government employees I've known over the years. I don't call them workers because I'm not a communist from the Soviet Union, but employees of the government. Great many people. And look, I worked in the Pentagon for 10 years, and that was about half uniform military and half civilian, and a lot of time on Capitol Hill as well. And I've just known people in and out of government over the years, lived here for a long time now. And overwhelmingly, certainly the people that I've known and that I've worked with and have hung out with socially, great public employees who work hard and are smart and do a good job. But the government just can't keep expanding like the universe forever and ever when we're $36 trillion in debt. And the Democrats blithely whistle past the graveyard once again. So, no, we'll explain to you how we're going to spend your money. And then they don't. And the Democrats set up this $20 billion slush fund, went into a Citibank fund that they could spread around to their left-wing radical pals who claim they're making the weather better. Hey, give me $5 billion. And you see this thing yesterday? These Enviro Democrats. One of the Enviro Democrats gave the Democrats $600,000 in contributions. And then his organization got $5 billion taxpayer dollars to do something about the weather. What's he done about the weather? Nothing, but he's got a nice boat and a lake house, probably on Deep Creek Lake. He's probably got a house on Deep Creek Lake, where all the rich kids go. That's, I keep saying Deep Creek Lake because a friend of mine has a house on Deep Creek Lake, and he keeps yelling at me for saying that Deep Creek Lake. But never mind that. Now, local DEI consultants struggle to pivot under Trump. Yeah, you guys go ahead and pivot over there. Go ahead. Just try not to have a race riot or attack the Jews or anything. Like the Democrats, again, this week they're attacking the Jews in New York City again, the mob of crazy, and they wear their Palestinian headdresses. They're pro-Hamas criminal activities at Barnard College, Columbia University, where Barack Obama went to school at Columbia, not Barnard. He's not technically a woman, but he might slip in and out every now and then. And the Democrats are attacking the Jews like the jihadis that they are. They don't like civilization. They're not with us on civilization. I've got all kinds of great stuff. I've got an update on Hung Cao. My friend Hung Cao, great American, great naval officer, and I've got an update on my friend Hung. He ran for Senate in Virginia, and the left-wing racists didn't vote for him because they hate America. But I've got an update for you on Hung Cao and the Trump administration. Great stuff. What's going on at The View? That's one of those ABC news shows, The View. And they're having a lot of mental issues. I've got, what's her name? Joyless. They got Joy and Sunny and Happy, and they're the least happy people on the face of the earth. I've got something for you there. And how about the IRS thief, the guy that stealing conservatives' tax returns and spreading the left-wing radical media? It looks like it's time for the yardarm for him. Front of the Capitol yardarm. Doge keeps on cutting. The liberals hate Elon Musk and the cars that he created and his space program. Kind of, you see a bunch of celebrities are going into space, too. Not with Elon, but you see this one? It's quite appalling. Joyless Behar for you today. Liberals love killers. They love killers, especially cop killers. Got another Democrats love cop killers story out of Texas today because they're not on the side of civilization. And Mel Gibson is an actor. He does not live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he's got a thing or two to say about the governor of California. That's coming up, too. He's from Australia originally, apparently. We are at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. All right, President Trump doing all kinds of stuff. Let's make English the official language of the United States of America. Telling a lot of federal employees they have to move to Washington, D.C. That could fall under the heading of cruel and unusual punishment. But we'll get to that, too. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Cole. Cole, where's Cole called from? Stafford, Virginia. Cole Motti, you were on the Chris Plant Show. Cole from Stafford, Virginia. He's walking. This is why he's probably got stuff to do. He's a very busy guy. All right, we're running out of time, but let's go to Michael calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Miguel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris Plant. Thanks for having me on. I know we won't have a lot of time. Pam Bondi's starting to sound an awful lot like Miss Teen USA from South Carolina being interviewed by Mario Lopez. She's not making a lot of sense explaining how this is being messed up in having the files on her desk and then not having the files, and they're in New York and nobody's sending them to her.
The Jeffrey Epstein files. You're 100% right. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's just she has no explanation for how she could be messing this up for this long. She knew what was coming, and she sent out these binders which didn't have any new information to the influencers. It's just all the efforts that are being put into just not getting it right from the beginning is disturbing. And her explanations are what Jeffrey Epstein did was sick, but I can't tell you what he did because I have to protect the victims. They've been saying that for 15 years.
You are 100% right. I agree with you completely. This whole Jeffrey Epstein documents rollout, such as that has been completely botched. The Miss South Carolina reference is hilarious. All right, now our Cole wasn't there when we went to Cole, and we went to Michael, and Michael was funny. He made a fun and funny reference. You may recall it was the Miss America or Miss USA. Which one was it? And this poor young woman who's lovely and polite and nice and squeaky clean and all that stuff, Miss South Carolina, became famous or infamous. Miss Teen USA. See, that's even more difficult. Miss South Carolina. The Miss Teen USA. That makes it even tougher. But the nice young lady, Miss Teen USA, that was asked a question, and it didn't go very well.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and Iraq, everywhere, I believe that our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries.
Time's
so we
up.
will be able to build up our future.
Good news.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good news for you. Time is up. I think that might have been Lauren Caitlin Upton. But that was a fun moment. And it's what Michael was referring to there when he talked about the alleged rollout, and it wasn't the rollout, of the Jeffrey Epstein documents. And it was, I think it would be fair to say, botched, the so-called rollout, because they didn't actually release the Jeffrey Epstein documents. They only had one binder, a three-ring binder, like the kind of like a three-ring circus, but a three-ring binder, the kind that Mitt Romney might have, filled with women, which would really just be governed for government positions because he's Mitt Romney after all. But that's not important now. And when they said they were going to release the Jeffrey Epstein documents, what happened yesterday was they brought some three-ring binders to the White House, and they invited conservative, what they call influencers. And as you have a very popular Twitter or Rumble or something on the conservative influencers with big footprint online, they're invited to the White House and into the Oval Office, and then the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said, here you go. Here are the documents. And the three-ring binders didn't contain all that much. First of all, it's a three-ring binder, right? And secondly, we had a guest on my on my television show last night, and he was one of the people in the Oval Office getting the three-ring binder, and he brought the three-ring binder to Newsmax last night and showed it on our television show at 10 p.m. Eastern last night, Chris Plant and the Right Squad. And you could see that page after page were fully redacted, and then additional pages were partially redacted. That is, blacked out lines and so on. They're blacking out names. We've got to protect the innocent, you know. Now, the names have been changed or redacted to protect the innocent. And what about the phone numbers? You got to get all this stuff out. And it turns out that releasing the documents from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation or investigations is more complicated than we had originally hoped. Now, it was pretty wacky, I've got to say. And then Pam Bondi, after giving out these three-ring binders, apparently nobody reviewed the binders that were given to conservative influencers. But the Attorney General then, when it was pointed out, hey, wait a minute, this isn't very much, and so much of it is redacted that this doesn't look very good. And now Time Magazine has the story. Trump Attorney General Pam Bondi blames FBI for incomplete Epstein files. And boy, were they incomplete, let me tell you. And we conservative influencers got there, and they're trying to be as polite as possible, honestly, the influencers, who are the journalists in this instance, to be sure. But the rollout was less than ideal, less than had been anticipated, less than what we had expected. A group of conservative influencers left the White House on Thursday afternoon, all holding white binders emblazoned with the Department of Justice seal. Some of them held up binders to cameras, which showed that they were labeled the Epstein files, Phase 1. Phase 1. Everything is in phases these days. You know, what is a Phase 1 of the peace talks with Hamas and the jihadi, grotesque, murderous pigs? And the Phase 1 of the Russia-Ukraine thing. Now we got Phase 1 of the Epstein files. It's like, a cable series. Hey, stay tuned for Phase 2. The unusual scene came just hours after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was confirmed earlier this month, vowed to release a cache of documents related to the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Bondi has promised that the files would include flight logs and the names of individuals involved, but she had cautioned that some information could not be disclosed due to the need to protect more than 250 victims, overwhelmingly young women. that were brought to Epstein Island, and Epstein, that Lolita won his private airplane, and so on. But a review of the revealed documents found that they included heavy redactions and mostly information that had been previously reported, while the binders appeared to be marked declassified. Questions remained as to whether they had ever been classified in the first place. Well, it's the FBI and the Justice Department and the federal government, and everything's a secret, because don't tell anybody. I know, but you don't. The limited scope of the release drew criticism from some Republicans, including Representative Ana Paulina Luna of Florida, who leads a House GOP task force on government transparency. And Ana Paulina Luna, I always have to sing in my head Una Paloma Blanca, when I see Ana Paulina Luna and her name on paper. But Ana Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, said, I, nor the task force, were given or reviewed the Epstein documents being released today. Now, again, she's in charge of the Republican Task Force on Government Transparency. Communication is key to everything, I've got to say. And a New York Post story just revealed that the documents will simply be Epstein's phone book. Ana Paulina Luna tweeted, this is not what we or the American people asked for, and a complete disappointment, said Ana Paulina Luna. Get us the information we asked for. Now, it's kind of a fascinating thing, because then the Attorney General did write a curt letter, a harsh letter to the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney there, and the FBI in Lower Manhattan, and said, hey, I've only been made aware by way of a source. You got to have sources, and it's an anonymous source, because this is kind of a ridiculous city and there's so much corruption. But the letter to the Southern District of New York, she said that a source told her that there are thousands of pages of documents, including audio recordings and video, and that she was demanding, as their boss, the Attorney General, demanding that they turn over all of those thousands of documents, including recordings and videos, by 8 a.m. today, and that deadline has already passed. I don't know if we've got an eager news media at the Justice Department waiting for those things to be dropped, but I think perhaps not. And we'll start over again. The look, they're trying to make them public. They gave it a whack yesterday. It was not the best effort I've ever seen. And, Washington is a complicated place. But when you're the boss, and if you're going to be doing this stuff, then check your boxes before you issue the report and you release everything, and just make sure you've got your house in order here. Because you don't want to look, honestly, the way they look today and the way they looked last night. When you say, well, here it is, and I'll just give them credit and say that they've started the process, but let's honestly organize a little better, and next time release the whole thing, or do it. And also, it was a peculiar thing. We'll bring in like DC Drano, famous on Twitter, brought into the Oval Office, given a 3-ring binder, and then they discovered that not nearly the Epstein documents that had been anticipated in terms of volume or anything else, and so many redactions, black boxes and blacked out lines, that it did not get the job done. And Ana Paulina Luna, Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna, 100% correct. 100% correct about that. So I'll give them a do-over, but they need a mulligan on this, because it was not well done at all. And it'll pique public interest and fine, but the news media is going to attack them, which they're going to do anyway because the sun came up and all that good stuff. But and to give it to influencers, and if you're going to do it, you should post them online at the same time. You're going to give them to people, and I'm fine with giving them to conservative influencers, but you should post them online at the same time, so we, the American people, can go through them, comb through them, go over them, and on and on. But honestly, the rollout was less than optimal, less than ideal. Dave Portnoy of Barstool everything, Barstool Sports and all that stuff. And he's not an anti-Trump voice, Dave Portnoy, but he's out there. He said, I'm going to be fair. These questions need to be asked. Today he said, why is the release of the Epstein list always a beep show? He wrote, what's the point of booting out illegals and criminals while somehow becoming a safe haven for the Tate brothers? Why is crypto in the toilet if Trump is a crypto king? Is going on and on, Dave Portnoy. But we need some better organization on a couple of these things, I've got to say. And they're still getting their footing in Washington. But time to, if you're going to do a big release like this, then organization counts. Presentation counts. But she did, the Attorney General did say, listen, I had to find out from sources that you people in the Southern District of New York, you guys have thousands of documents, and why did you not tell me about them? And I've got to say, these people at the FBI and the Justice Department and SDNY, we call it SDNY, Southern District of New York, and the FBI, that's the Federal Bureau of Investigation, were they unaware that the president had announced and the Attorney General had announced that we're going to be making these documents public, and they didn't prepare anything? Now they're acting like we're at the starting point all over again? Is that really what's going on? That the FBI in the Southern District of New York, you wanted to release these? What, you guys live in a cave with members of Hamas? Are you in a tunnel or something? You don't have access to the news where you are? Just amazing. Amazing stuff. And why they didn't have it already, that should have been bundled up and prepackaged and delivered to the Attorney General long ago. And why, again, another black eye for the FBI and for the Southern District of New York, which has been politicized and turned into a Democrat Party criminal operation. But they should have had all this stuff ready. And Pam Bondi said, late yesterday, I learned from a source. Why do you have to learn from a source? An anonymous, everybody's anonymous, right? That the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictments of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of the files. Again, maybe they don't follow the news. They don't know. In a post on X, Kash Patel, new FBI director, also having none of this, and it's his own FBI that, once again, looks like the bunch of tricksters and frauds and pranksters here. Isn't that amazing? Said Kash Patel said the FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Justice, I say. There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned, he said. So let's turn those stones. And honestly, guys, and they're supposed to have them at the Justice Department by 8 a.m. today. And who knows? Now you got to worry that the Southern District of New York and the FBI are actually setting a snare for Pam Bondi because they've been so politicized, the FBI and the Justice Department, elements of the Justice Department, and the Southern District of New York, certainly Trump hunters that they are. And so is the FBI now trying to set up Pam Bondi and President Trump, drawing them into their snare. Because if they did deliver the thousands of documents today, you can't just dump them all at 8:01 a.m. when they deliver them at 8 a.m. because you can't trust these people to not be tricking you if you're Pam Bondi and the new leaders at the Justice Department and the FBI with Kash Patel, because the state has taken on a life of its own. They have an agenda of their own. We are at 888-630-9625. Our bureaucracy. I think maybe we shouldn't keep it. Now, I do have, there's a fun announcement to make. My friend and great American Hung Cao, Hung, last name C-A-O, Vietnamese American, Naval Academy graduate, naval officer, extraordinary career in the United States Navy, has been named by President Trump. Hung Kai, he ran for the U.S. Senate in Virginia, and the racists there didn't vote for him, the Democrats, because they're racists, and they have a long history of racism. But Hung Kao has been named to serve as Undersecretary of the Navy, which is pretty great because it's the Department of the Navy. That's great. Wonderful stuff. So congratulations to our friend Hung Kao, and, on the way to more brilliant things going forward. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Pam, calling from Arkansas. Pamela, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, Chris. My comment is to fire all the rogue FBI agents. Local police departments have been sending officers to the FBI Academy for years and years. Hire them.
Get local police to take over for the FBI people. I got to tell you, we've got a new FBI director who I think is there to clean house and to do a good job. And I believe that he will. And we've got a new attorney general who is looking to clean house as well, and I believe that she will. But I've got to say that the FBI once again. And the Southern District of New York, the permanent bureaucracy, the bureaucracy that was there before Donald Trump assumed office on January 20th, it looks like they're monkey-wrenching the system again. And again, I've got to say, Pam, that if the Southern District of New York and the FBI in New York delivered by 8 a.m. today, as they have been instructed to do by the Attorney General, if they delivered all the documents, I would not assume that they're ready for release. I would be concerned that they were looking to sabotage Pam Bondi, the Justice Department, and President Trump. Wouldn't you?
Well, of course they are. Of course they are. And that's why you've got a pool of experienced policemen who have already gone through the FBI Academy. So
I like it. Sounds like you have some personal experience or background in there.
That's all. Thank you, Heidi.
All right. Thank you, Pamela. That's great. That's all. That's all I have to say. I don't want to say any more than that. That is great. Oh, yeah, and I so much love the Hung Kao news. That's great. Also, I've got to correct, Mel Gibson, the actor, was actually born in New York. He lived in Australia as a teenager.